So
All right. All right. You ever run the Memorial Marathon?
I did not. My wife has actually,
Okay,
but
awesome.
I have not.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely a bucket list for me.
Yeah, they just had it this weekend. It's a
Yep.
special event. It's always fun to see my friends still towing the line. And I saw a sign. There was a little girl. She was holding a sign. She said, "My grandma's run every single one of them."
Yeah, it's awesome.
Uh, all right, so we are live with Coach Alstin Benton from the University of St. Mary. Coach, how's it going tonight?
Doing pretty good. How about y'all?
Good, good. We're just rapidly approaching summer here down in the south, so we're in that kind of weird transition of spring where one day it might be cold and then the next day you're sweating and sticky. So we're just trying to adapt and get into summer so we can be sweaty and sticky all the time.
For sure.
Awesome. Coach, before we get into our through line and all that stuff, why don't you shout out your socials where you want us to direct the guest, uh, either the university's stuff or any of your stuff, coaching stuff, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I mean you can follow me on Twitter. It's just at Austin Benton. It's AlstinBenton. And then you can follow our team on at St. Mary XCTF, and that is on Twitter or Instagram as well. So yeah, that's kind of that.
Awesome. So a little through line for you, Coach. Jimmy and I have grown up as athletes. We were both runners, and then when we got to high school, um, I kind of stuck a little bit with the wrestling, but kind of focused more on the running. Jimmy focused on the wrestling, and then when we went to college, Jimmy was a wrestler and I was a runner. He was a junior college All-American in wrestling. I was a junior college All-American in cross country, and then I matriculated to Monmouth University in New Jersey, ran the 5K, 10K steeplechase, and then have now at 48 years old continued to run ultra marathons and 100-mile races and that sort of stuff. So we're athletes. We also feel that when we were in school, guidance counselors didn't always necessarily direct us in the right direction or give us insight into all of the colleges and universities that exist out there for athletes to have opportunities to continue their college career. So one of the things we like to do is speak to coaches like yourself in the NAIA, junior college, Division 2, Division 3. We do have some Division 1 coaches as well, but we're just trying to shed some light for young athletes out there who might have a little bit of doubt in themselves or maybe their ability levels at the time and know that let them know that there are colleges and universities out there for them that if they're dedicated and want to continue their careers and progress, that there are places for them to go and they might have to go to Leavenworth, Kansas to do that.
Sure.
So it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on. We want to get into the program, the university, your background as a coach. You also seem like you have some background in strength and conditioning and that sort of stuff. Jimmy and I are both strength and conditioning coaches, have a couple certifications there, and I utilize a fair amount of strength and conditioning with my ultra marathon training, and it's very beneficial. And I think at this point, if you're not doing some sort of strength and conditioning as a track and field athlete, cross country athlete, or a distance runner, you're probably leaving some money on the table, so to speak.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
welcome, Jim.
Coach, in your 11th season at St. Mary's, 10th as a head coach, you guys just were runners up in cross country. How's that feel? Does it feel like you're there, or you gotta get that gold so you're still itching and clawing, or do you feel like this was a pivotal year for the program?
Um, I don't know. We've never let the end result dictate, whether we've had success or not. I mean, obviously we want to win, right? All deep down, we want to win. But it definitely doesn't determine success or no success in our program. I mean, um, it hurts our men lost by 5 points, which is the closest we've ever been. And 5 points in cross country is one guy running 5 seconds faster. So there's a piece there. It's like you want more and you want to come out on top, and you dedicate, not me, the athletes, they dedicate 15, 20 hours a week. And, some of them for the last 8 to 10 years of their lives to accomplish, something like winning a national title. And you want it for them really badly. Because it's one of those moments. I had the luxury. I went to community college, Cali County Community College, and we won a national championship in 2010. And just the moment afterwards, like with the coach, with the team, just was such a special moment. I want that for my team because they deserve it. But at the end of the day, our goal is to just, do what we can do on a daily basis to be successful. Excellence isn't an end result. Excellence for us is what we do every day. So, I think we're there in that aspect. We have a great group that works really hard and they challenge each other. We've been successful for a while in our program, and I don't think it has as much to do with me as much as it has to do with the leadership that we've been lucky to have in our program. I had a great group when I first got here and took over 2014. As the head coach, we had a group that was just awesome, and they gave me a chance to coach them and to learn and grow as a coach. And they just kind of ran with it, and they led our team. And they've kind of set that expectation from 2014 and carried it forward all the way through now, And so I like to think we're there in the sense of, the standards we've set as a program and the excellence that we put forth every day in practice and training.
So bringing up that the end really isn't the overall goal, it's more the daily performances and the daily showing up, mentioning that, those 5 points is 5 seconds. Did everyone show up? Did everyone do their part? Or at the end, was there some guys that people were pushing like, come on, man, like why do you do your part? Or was everyone pretty satisfied with their roles that they took in it?
I think everyone was. I think this is a tricky one. No one was upset with anybody. I think our team's bigger than that. I think maybe people were upset. Some people were upset with themselves because you finish and you see 5 points and you think maybe I could have done more. But I think long term that kind of punch in the gut goes away and you realize how special it was to be a part of something that challenged you to that level. And, so I think, yeah, there's a gut punch when you lose by 5 points. It hurts a little bit and you think I could have done more. You'd almost rather lose by 60 or 70 points. It hurts a little, a little less, but no one was upset with anybody. I mean, everyone put it out on the line. And, I don't think a lot of people thought we were going to go be national runner-ups, let alone be as close as we were. So it's like, I think we outperformed what people thought we were going to do. So yeah, no upset. Just, I think obviously you always want more.
And we are in track season, and you are the track coach and cross country coach. And I know Rich always like cross country a little bit better, and you like track better, Rich, right?
I did. I like
Yeah,
the
Rich like
rhythmic
track
approach.
better than he like cross country. I'm curious, do you have a favorite, or do you have, oh, I like this one for this, I like this one for that?
Yeah. I don't know. So, when I was an athlete, I loved track. Um, that was kind of, I don't know, the laps and just like clicking paces, and it was very methodical, and I really enjoyed that as an athlete. I love track, and I went on after college, and I actually ran the marathon at nationals. The NAIA used to have the marathon at our national championship meet, and that's the event that I actually ran. And I love long runs. I love that sort of monotonous part of running. There's a beauty to it for me. But as a coach, I love run. I like watching our athletes run faster in track. There's a beauty to that, and it's really fun. And I love the variety of events. The 800, it can be so aggressive, and it's just different. But from a purely coaching perspective, cross country is so team focused. And that's just really fun to coach, to get everyone bought in. And there's just a team piece that sometimes goes away in track. As much as you want to have it in track, everyone's kind of becomes a little single-minded because you spread out and all of a sudden you've got, 21 different events, and you've got just the distance athletes who I work with. There's days where we're doing 4 different hard workouts that day, depending on what they're specifically trying to focus on. So, it's a lot different. Cross country, we have about 25 guys on our team and about 20 ladies. And it's like all 25 guys are doing the same workout. And there's a beauty of going through that pain together, and going through that grind together, and all having the same end goal. Whereas track doesn't necessarily have that. So, I mean, from just like the team perspective and the camaraderie piece and just the building those relationships, cross country is so much easier to do. And I have a soft spot in my heart for cross country, just because a lot of the memories that I had in college came from those experiences, whereas track seemed very single-minded sometimes.
Coach, I'm right there with you. That's exactly the same for me. I love the rhythmic approach to a 5K or a 10K on the track. I love the team component of cross country. I just didn't feel like I performed the way I should have. It didn't really necessarily always match my track performances. But as a coach, I'm right there with you. Like this, everyone's on the same page, everyone's doing the same workout, everyone's running the same race. There is a little bit more of that closeness with the team. Track can be spread out a little bit. Sometimes the throws are off in another world, or, maybe they're not, the jumps and stuff don't get as much spotlight. But yeah, the coaching of cross country and that team is just something that's really special, and seeing everyone come together. I'm curious, you mentioned this was the best finish in school history, and you also mentioned that team in 2014 when you came in. So what, from 2014 to now, what sort of things have you sort of tried to foster in terms of creating that culture that maybe you picked up on in 2014 or have added to since then?
Um, I mean, so from like a culture perspective, I think we just have a better understanding of what works. And I guess not just me, but just every time our senior leaders lead our freshmen, they're a little bit better than the senior leaders prior. They learn, and they see what those guys do. And the ladies too. I mean, our senior ladies, so I like to think that our leaders get a little bit better every year. It's incremental. You don't notice it at the time. But just over time, year over year, you graduate a class, and that's kind of, there's a kind of a beauty to cross country, or sorry, to college, where they're only here for 4 or 5 years, and they move on, and then you get a whole fresh set of eyes, a whole group of freshmen that you can come in and make them better than the previous freshman class, and grow and grow and grow. So I think our seniors have gotten a little bit better every year. And that's not to downplay, the very first group of seniors that I ever had. I mean, they're very special people that I still talk to today. And they definitely set the groundwork for everything that our program has become. But they didn't know all that much about how to be good leaders, and neither did I. I didn't know that much about coaching. I didn't know any of that. So we've kind of, I feel like I've been able to grow with the program, and grow with those senior leaders. And I think the seniors and juniors we have now are just exceptional people that have had great guidance, because it's grown on itself over the last 10, 11 years.
And with those fresh set of eyes that you have coming in every 4 years, or really every year, but you're looking in kind of 4-year cycles, are there certain leadership qualities that you're trying to spot out when you're doing the recruiting? And is there anything as they come in that you're trying to foster, or are you kind of seeing who develops into those leadership roles?
Yeah. So, small school recruiting is interesting. We don't have our pick of the litter, right? We kind of have to find the people that fit our program. And, I would love to have the luxury I guess, of picking and choosing whoever I wanted, out of the whole state or, the whole region for our program. That would make my life, I guess, maybe a little easier. I could be a little lazier with recruiting, I presume. But I think the thing that we look for are people who love the sport. That to us is like the first most important thing with a recruit. I don't care if you're fast or slow or anywhere in between. I want you to love the sport, because people who love the sport come in and help the program succeed. If you're the 25th best guy in our team, but you come in every day and you are pumped to be there because you love cross country, you love track and field, you love getting better, you love the idea of working hard, you love that challenge. Even if you're the 25th best guy, you're going to make a positive impact on the number one guy in our team. So that is probably the number one quality that we look for in the recruiting process is just being really passionate about the sport. So with that, comes positivity, and some other factors. So, because leadership is a lot of things. It's not necessarily vocal leadership. Leadership can be, obviously can be vocal, but it can just be you can lead by doing. You could lead by challenging. You can lead outside of practice, by, being a friend to somebody that needs a friend in a tough moment, right? So we're looking for people that can do those things, and it really isn't related with how fast you are. It's related with your passion for the sport, your positivity about life, and the things that, the things you're trying to accomplish. So, those are the things we look for in the recruiting process for sure.
You bring up the uniqueness of that recruiting process and having to not get your pick of the litter and maybe go through other avenues. I'm curious, what are those avenues? You mentioned being a junior college guy. So are you focusing on some junior college guys? Are you paying attention to some people you might have talked to when they were in high school to kind of see how they're doing at college, if they're going to come back around? I'm just curious to what is that mindset when it comes to recruiting?
Yeah. For us, we kind of really go every avenue you could imagine, I guess. I mean, we recruit high school really heavy. We recruit JUCO really heavy. We don't have a lot of scholarship money at St. Mary, which is fine. Not that I mean, I would love to have more scholarship money. But that's not really going to school just because they're the cheapest doesn't necessarily make it the right decision. So again, it has to make sense for you financially, right? Like we don't want people going in crazy debt just because, they love St. Mary and want to run here. That's not our intention, but, it's not the end all be all. So sometimes, there's a beauty to it of finding kids that are just the right fit for us academically, the right fit for our program, that sort of stuff. So with our recruiting, one of the big things that we really want kids to come on campus visits. That is the main avenue that we follow. I know a lot of people do campus visits, but I don't know. I like to think we do ours a little different. Our coaching staff, we set aside time and we spend a lot of time talking to the kid and their family. We want the kids to come hang out at a practice, maybe go out to dinner with our guys, or girls, whoever, whatever gender, obviously. But we want them to like really get that true, authentic experience. Because the other thing too, when I sit down with a family, I'm not giving a car salesman pitch. I'm giving them the true, authentic me. And, the true, authentic, this is what our program is. I don't want them to see something that's not real. That's why I like them to meet our team. I want them to know how goofy our guys and girls are. I want them to know and be like, hey, this is home to me. And same thing when I sit down with them and I'm talking with them, like, I tell them who I am, that I'm not perfect, that sometimes I'm really bad about answering text messages. Like, they know those things, that's just not who I am. But I think they pick up that I actually genuinely care and I want the best for them. And I think that's important too. So, So yeah, for us, it's the main avenue is, we go all avenues, but we narrow down to really those authentic campus visits so they can really know like, hey, this is home for me. And I think some kids come on the visits here not thinking that this is going to be the place for them. And then once they leave, they're like, wow, that was really something special that I'd like to be a part of.
So I am interested in how you have such a successful team, but you're not a used car salesman. How do you stay your authentic self, but still get good recruits and good results out of them?
Yeah, authenticity pays off over time. Um, I mean, I know I can say that kind of time and time again, but um, I mean, I think we're just consistent. We're consistent with what we do, and we're consistently honest and upfront, and we're honest and upfront with our athletes once they get here too, right? That authenticity carries on. I tell every kid whenever they come on a visit that if they come here, we're going to care about them and we're going to love them, and that's what we do. So, not every kid, it doesn't work for every kid. Like the conversations we have, some kids leave here and it's not for them, and that's cool too. That's what I want. I don't want them to come to school here if it's the wrong place for them. So I think there's so many coaches that get caught up in this kid is fast, so we want this kid at all cost. And that's just not great for a program. Because if that kid is just bad for, if that kid doesn't fit your program, if that kid doesn't fit your coaching style, if that kid doesn't fit, it doesn't matter if they're the number one runner in the country. It just isn't going to work for the culture of the program. Um, you know, our guys and girls, they love each other. And that's because this is the right fit for them. This is the right place for them. So I think that is kind of, I guess, the major factor there.
And when you have a season like you did this past year in 2023, getting on the podium, finishing a runner-up finish, does it make recruiting easier, or do you find that you get some more athletes that are actually reaching out to you versus reaching out to them?
I don't know if I don't know. It's hard to say. Because I guess maybe compared to 2014, my first year here, it's probably easier. Um, but I think, you raise the bar every year, right? So as much as like maybe it would be easier to be as good as we were in 2014 or 15, but to maintain, I think is almost harder sometimes. So I don't know if it's easier, and I don't really know if we get reached out that much more. I think probably the main area recruiting's gotten easier is when I first got here. I think a lot of coaches maybe just didn't know our program or didn't necessarily trust me, and they had no reason, like high school coaches had no reason to trust that I was going to be around for the next 10 or 11 years like I've ended up being. They saw results within our program, but there's a lot of programs that have results and fall apart because those results come from fear-driven coaching. And that sort of coaching just doesn't work. And so I think it took time to build trust and relationship in the running community in Kansas, Missouri, Kansas City area. And I think we have that now. I go to a meet and coaches will talk to me or talk to my coach Ryan, one of our assistant coaches that does a lot of the recruiting. Like they come up to us now, and they're like, hey man, that kid is doing so well for you. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm so glad they're doing well. And so it's gotten easier in that sense, I would say. That it's just, yeah, we have more trust in the community, which just takes time, because there's not every coach is a good person. As much as I, hate to say that. So it's hard for her. I mean, you see it all the time. College coaches just run kids into the ground, and it's hard to trust. High school coaches don't trust because they won't. A lot of high school coaches, they're not in it for the money. They're there helping kids, just be better people, and they want to see them go on to college and continue that positive athletic experience. And that's not happening everywhere, sadly. So.
Yeah, we just had Damian Hahn. He's the head wrestling coach at South Dakota State. He's a New Jersey guy as well. But he always says that you have two kinds of coaches. You have One kind where the coaches are more looking for the benefit of themselves and how this is going to make their resume look. And then you have coaches that are out there for the benefit of the kids and how they can develop not only the student and the athlete, but the human, and making people great athletes, but making them better human beings. And, you know, wins and losses are important, but at the end of the day, I'm here for the student athlete, not for my own. I've had my career, I've had my day, I've had my hand raised, or I've won my meets. I'm here to develop these kids.
Coach, a lot of coaches get into coaching because they want to continue to live through the athletes, and I don't think that's very fair. So
Yeah, and I as a young coach, fell victim to that in my early in my career, where it was about, well, if I do this, this, and this, and make my resume look really good, then maybe I can get into the college ranks. But over time, it's like, well, I've already had my day. I want to help these kids, and I always tell the kids, I'm here to make you a better human. And along the way, if we become better wrestlers or we run fast, then so be it. But at the end of the day, I want you to be a good, solid citizen in the world. Good, Jim.
Could you bring up in that recruiting process, a real important part is getting them on campus. So you get someone on campus, what are they going to get from that experience? What is there to do around the University of St. Mary? What's the town like? What's the community like? Things like that. What's going to kind of draw a recruit in?
yeah, so I mean, University of St. Mary itself, the number one thing when people come on visits is how friendly everyone is. I mean, it's a genuine friendly place. I mean, I'll be honest, when I first came here, I had the mindset of like, well, it's my first job. I'll be there 2, 3, 4 years kind of thing, and then I'm gonna leave. And now I've been here 11 years, and the reason I've stayed is the people. The people here are really special, and um, again, nothing's perfect anywhere, right? Grass is always greener on the other side, but um, the things that are special here are really special. I mean, they care. The president actually cares. I didn't even meet my president whenever I was in college. Couldn't have told you their name or who they were or anything. And our president has flown to watch our national championship meet the last like 6 or 7 years. Like that doesn't happen everywhere, for cross country, especially. So it's just really cool. Just great atmosphere, and people are just friendly here. And then Leavenworth itself, it's fine. It's a community that I don't know. It's just I don't want to hype it up and say that it's some crazy like hype place. I mean, it's fine. The people here are nice, and there's places to eat and a little bit to do, and we're 3 miles from the first dirt road, which is great for training. If we want to get out there and get off some pavement, so I love that. I mean, we're a suburb of Kansas City, so that's kind of really where a lot of things are at. I mean, we're about 20 minutes from like NASCAR Speedway, Sporting Kansas City, professional Major League Soccer team. And then in that area, there's like a big mall and, plenty of places to eat. And then we're about 35 minutes from downtown Kansas City. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here, just within a pretty short drive. So it's pretty nice. I mean, I went to school in a really, really the community college I went to was in a tiny town. And we did nothing but run and maybe go walk around Walmart. And, that's all there was to do. But so there's a beauty to that. And that's kind of why I like where we're located. I mean, the kids they can go and do some things and have some experiences, especially from from an internship standpoint. They're not stuck with like just the small things in Leavenworth. They can go, because Garmin's located in Olathe, which is about 30 minutes from here. So we've had kids do internships with Garmin, internships with the Chiefs and the Royals, Sporting Kansas City, and then other big. I mean, Sprint used to be headquartered here. I guess it's not Sprint anymore. So there's a lot of major headquarters for companies here that kids can do internships with, and get those experiences as well, which you don't really get in a small town. But we have, we're small town enough vibe that you can go on a run and feel safe and not have to stop at a stoplight every 30 seconds to a minute, which is nice.
So you bring up those internships, and I just graduated school and realized that an internship would have been something that would have been helpful at this moment in time. I'm interested in, do you guys have some placement programs? I know you just mentioned Garmin. Do you find that a lot of your kids, when they graduate, they're able to find jobs outside of the college? And do you have alumni and stuff that you kind of hook them up with as well?
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely have success with like kids finding places. The big one is I mean, they are able to get internships through, and so we have like basically like a senior practicum that I'm not sure if it's called a practicum, could be using the wrong term, but
Sounds
basically
good.
all of our seniors, and basically in their last semester, one of their main classes is essentially doing an internship. So I actually had one of my athletes that is interested in coaching. He did an internship with me this spring. So, and I mean, he was working, I don't know, 15 hours a week with me, which has been great for him to kind of get that experience and really know like, hey, is coaching for sure what I want to do. And I gave him, some tasks that, you don't realize coaching, because a lot of times you get into coaching, you think it's writing workouts and yelling at kids and doing all that. And you don't realize there's paperwork and you got a credit card bill and you got all this stuff. So you really get those experiences. But so yeah, a lot of our athletes, or I say athletes, a lot of our students get pretty good internships with pretty big companies that have a lot of availability for jobs, and have had some good success with that, which is cool.
That's got to be a cross country runner's dream to get an internship with Garmin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
Other
a cool
than
gig. Yeah, I mean, we have a few athletes that work for Garmin now, that just kind of rolled there right out of school. So yeah.
That's awesome. Coach, what does the university offer in terms of degrees? Is there graduate programs? We've with the coaches that we've talked to around the country, we've found that a lot of schools offer some unique degrees that, like I said in the beginning, Jimmy and I just didn't even know was an option or that they existed. So, is there anything at the university that's out of the ordinary or unique for the university, or um, what is the big major that a lot of people are drawn to?
Yeah. I we don't really have anything unique. I would say, but what we do, we one of our big things is we specialize in healthcare education. Um, so I might get the story a little wrong, but my understanding is in like the early 2000s, we kind of had I wasn't here. So, but basically the school had a discussion of like, hey, how are we going to survive, going forward? We're in a world where a lot of small colleges are shutting down, because of cost. And, St. Mary basically said, how are we going to survive going forward? And how are we going to continue to serve students with degrees that are meaningful? Because a lot of times, getting a degree is getting a degree, but being able to get a career with your degree is obviously really, really important, right? So they kind of looked and they're like, well, there's major growth in healthcare. You're going to be able to get it. You're going to be able to get your bachelor's degree or your doctorate degree or whatever, your master's degree, and you're going to be able to get a job with that right away. So we put a big emphasis on that quite a while ago, and we've grown our healthcare programs. I would say probably half my team is going the healthcare route. Some of the big ones, we have a doctorate of physical therapy program, a doctorate of occupational therapy program, and then we have a master's in athletic training, and then we have nursing and master's in nursing as well. So we have a lot of those programs that our undergrad degrees lead to, and then with the undergrad degrees, I mean, there's exercise science, and nursing is technically a bachelor's degree, I guess. So we've set ourselves up to have a lot of I mean really good paying jobs that can make a difference in the community. Like, I mean, healthcare does make a difference. I mean, you're serving, and that's kind of what we've leaned into, is like, hey, how can we help these kids make a difference in the world, but also have good jobs, and came to school for a reason, I guess. So that's kind of been our emphasis, and I'd say that's our focus. No crazy degrees or anything, but I mean, we have business degrees and accounting degrees and all of that stuff as well.
Coach, you bring up the one athlete that was doing the internship with you, and he kind of found out real quick that there's more than just writing workouts. And one thing we like to ask coaches is, being a college coach, you're running a business, you're the CEO of your program. What does your CEO position look like? Obviously, it might be a little bit different in cross country than it is track and field because you got more coaches you're dealing with and stuff. But I'm just kind of curious how that works and if you had any issues kind of delegating task as you kind of stepped into that position, realizing that you couldn't do it all by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, so when I first took over, it was just me for a while. I was the only coach on staff. We also didn't have a very big team, maybe 25 athletes, give or take. We now have 3 other full-time coaches and two graduate assistants and 2 part-time coaches. We have right around 90 athletes. So things have changed quite a bit. I think I don't know. I don't want to call them growing pains, but I'm still learning quite a bit because we've still been growing as a program. So it hasn't been, I wouldn't say it's been super smooth. I'm not, it's the first time I've ever done it, right? It's the first time I've ever had 3 full-time coaches and, whatever, 9 coaches on staff. And the first time I've ever been over 90 athletes was this year, because we've continued to grow our program and just kind of grow. So I don't know. I'm still learning a lot of that stuff, but I get a little bit better at it every year. And I mean, I don't know. There's things I fail at still all the time, mistakes I make, or just little things that I'm like, oh, I probably could do that better. So that I'm definitely I don't know, I'm definitely still growing with the program and learning how to, I guess, be a better CEO, whether that's just being more organized or being more communicative or directing better, helping our coaches understand what I expect of them and helping them be successful as well, so because I can't coach all 90 athletes, right? I've got to fully trust that our coaches that we've brought on staff can do that. And if they don't feel like I'm supporting them, if they don't feel like I'm backing them up, then they aren't able to do that, So we're definitely learning and growing and learning how to be a better boss, because I definitely didn't get into this originally to be a boss. And then, here I am now, I guess technically being a boss for 7 or 8 coaches, so.
Do you have a role that kind of surprised you that, oh, I like this, I have a knack for this? And do you have a role or a task that let me hand this off as soon as I can because I want nothing to do with this?
Uh, I'll be honest, I just want to coach mostly. And I just want to and when I say coach, I not just write workouts, I want to talk with the athletes and communicate and I don't know, be at practice. That's what I really want to do. And, doing all the other stuff, if I could have someone that just did everything else for me, I'd be really happy. But, I can't do that, I guess. So, it's funny. I tell our athletes, whenever they're struggling with something, I'm like, hey, when you get in the workforce, when you get in the real world, you're gonna have those same challenges. I hate doing my credit card bill. We have to take pictures of the receipts and code and do basically I hate budgeting for the program. It's my most hated thing, but it's probably the most important thing I do if you were to ask the school. And I despise it, but I do it because it allows me the opportunity to do the things that I love. I tell them that sometimes when they're struggling with something or maybe they don't like lifting, right? They hate the strength and conditioning piece of practice. They just want to go run. And I'm like, hey, sometimes you got to do these things that you don't like so that you can actually do the things that you love. And you can be successful and be competitive. So it's worth it. That's kind of, part of life. And yeah, so for me, yeah, I don't know if there's things that I found that I'm like, oh, I'm really good at. Necessarily. I mean, I've involved myself with the school. I mean, I think probably the thing that I would say, if I had to answer it, is I enjoy the administrative piece more than I thought I would. And what I mean by administrative is not the paperwork. I don't enjoy that, but I enjoy, so like I was a part of, putting on our basically athletic awards banquet this year. I was the lead for that committee, and I enjoyed that just because I realized, man, I get to impact not just my 90 athletes, but the 500 athletes in the athletic department. Like, I got to create a really cool experience for for every athlete in every program. So that's probably the one thing. It's like, if I was to get out of coaching, if you had asked me 5 years ago, would I want to be an athletic director or go that route? I'd have said absolutely not. I have zero interest. But that's probably one thing. It's like, I could see myself, going that route, just because I feel like you can make a bigger impact. I mean, you can impact 25, 30 coaches. You can impact their lives and their families. You can impact 500, 600 student athletes if you run a good, effective athletic department. And that is that's a gratifying idea to me. But I like coaching, so I'm in no rush to get there. So,
Coach, I'm curious, as the runner-ups last year, losing or missing by 5 points, what are you thinking it needs to be done in order to make that jump to get those 5 points or get on top of the podium heading into the end of track season, and with the summer coming up with the build up for cross country for the fall of 2024?
keep doing our best. Um, an end result, like I said earlier at the beginning, an end result doesn't really dictate success or not. So, as much as I want to win one, I firmly believe that every time we step on the line at the national championship meet, we've done our best. And that's enough for me to leave the national championship meet, whether that's first, second by 5 points, or last at the national championship meet, or not there. As long as I know that our athletes I guess it's, not every athlete's going to do everything you ask of them, I guess, to be fair. But as long as I know that I put everything I could into them being successful, into them, learning that they could be successful as well, then I think that, that I can be really happy. So, I mean, yeah, I know that's I kind of avoided the question a little bit. But I didn't leave the meet thinking, man, what am I going to do now so that we don't lose by 5 points next year? I just really didn't. And I was really happy with everything we did. And I was super proud of my coaching staff, and I was super proud of the athletes, and I wouldn't have changed anything. There's nothing I would have went back and changed. And that's what makes me really happy, is knowing that we did everything we could, to get ourselves. And I know that if they do that in things in their lives, whether that's their career or whether that's their relationships or their marriage or raising their kid, if they can do everything they can and put everything out there to be successful in those areas, they're going to be really awesome people. And I like to think that I showed them via athletics that there's a way to do that, and that they can do more than they ever thought they could do. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if we're going to change anything, but I mean, I'm always learning and growing, right? Like, as a coach, from a physiological standpoint, sure, we might do some things different, but from a hard work perspective, we're just going to keep chugging along like we've been doing.
And have you experimented with the double threshold yet?
Double thresholds. Man. My athletes beg for it. And I don't want to say it's wrong, because arguably the best runner in the world's doing it. But I think it's wrong for us. At least until I understand it better. I think that's the problem, is like, I'm never going to apply something or put something in our program that I don't have a complete grasp of and a complete understanding of. And not that I don't get it. I mean, I get why they're doing it. I get the progression piece. I get it. I'm not comfortable with doing it just because everyone else is doing it. And I think that's, that's That's where a lot of people are at, is they're just doing it because everyone else is doing it and it's the next thing to do. I mean, in the late 1990s, everyone was doing hard, fast intervals because that's what everyone thought the science implied that you should do. And it didn't work. It was the worst American distance running had ever been. And, I'm not saying that aerobic thresholds or double thresholds, sorry, are a bad deal. I'm not ready to apply it yet. And I think we're doing just fine without it. And I also think, I don't know if we're mature enough. I mean, we're working with, 18-year-olds, straight out of high school. Some of them are running 15, 20 miles a week in high school, and it's like, we're going to come out and do workouts twice a day. Most of our athletes aren't there. Again, I'm not saying it's wrong for college athletes. I mean, I think NAU, the best cross country program in the nation, I'm pretty sure they do it. But I also know Mike Smith, if you listen to kind of the stuff he talked about, they did it like one time in one season, and then he didn't come back and do it until the next year and apply it. And then, and they're not doing it every time. And, he hasn't completely gone away from what he's doing, but I do believe maybe they do it now. I don't want to speak for Mike Smith, but, so it's like, but NAU's athletes are different athletes than what we have. Nothing against our athletes, but our athletes are awesome and they're super athletic and they're fast and all of those things. But we are working with a slightly different athlete profile. We're talking about some of the best in the world versus some athletes that just love running.
Coach, I am interested in what your strength program or training looks like as far as preseason, during the season, postseason, things like that.
Yeah. So that gets a little complicated because it really just depends. It depends on kind of where we're at and where the athlete's at and kind of what we're trying to do. So we have some different, like, for our young kids, basically, I guess I'll start there. For our young kids that really don't have a lifting background, we get in the weight room and we lift, but we do some pretty, I hate this term because I'm not a huge fan of it, but we do lightweight, high rep stuff. Again, that's not how most of our team lifts. But those that have never lifted, some of them can't do anywhere near a proper squat. Their body doesn't work right. Just because they're a good runner, their body does not work right. So what we're doing when we do the low weight, high rep stuff, we're not doing it because we're scared to build muscle or anything like that. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we're trying to ingrain proper movement patterns, and do those things right. So I would say just initially, like for our freshmen in general, not every freshman, some high school strength and conditioning programs have gotten much better over the years, from just 10 years ago when I first started coaching. And a lot more kids do a strength and conditioning class in high school, which is awesome. So I'm starting less from square one with a lot of kids nowadays. But so we start, just doing some basic general exercises that is just getting appropriate movement patterns. But once we kind of feel established there, we get a little bit fancier with the weights. I mean, we lift heavy. We're doing 3 sets of 5 deadlifts, 3 sets of 5 squats. If they get to it, a lot of our runners can't get to, power cleans, things like that. It's a mobility issue that we kind of struggle with. But we probably, out of 45 right now, we probably have 5 or 6 that are doing cleans. So it's like, we're not afraid to Olympic lift very heavy. We really keep that in 52 weeks a year. Like we lift, we do a couple things 52 weeks a year. We lift and we sprint, 52 weeks a year. We're always doing those things. But yeah, so on the lifting perspective though, we're lifting heavy pretty much all year long. Doesn't go away. And then, we do some auxiliary stuff as well, in addition to some of those heavier lifts. So usually we're going to maybe pretty much twice a week all year, we're going to lift, and we're going to do 1 to 3 heavy lifts depending on the time of year. And then we're going to do just some auxiliary work as well. You just basic stuff, basic, like, body movements, that everyone needs, like we're not maxing out our bench press, but we do bench, like it is a solid basic movement that every athlete should be able to do. We do pull-ups, we do barbell rows, we do basic lifting. But we have some auxiliary stuff as well that's a little bit more running specific. We do a lot of unilateral cross body work where, you're gonna maybe do a single leg like Bulgarian split squat. And at the top you're gonna do a dumbbell dumbbell press, something like that, opposite arm, opposite leg kind of thing. So we're doing a lot of that sort of work as kind of our auxiliary stuff. And then we always wrap up with a lot of just like injury prevention type stuff. And some of it can be specific to the athlete. Like if they have specific issues that they are constantly dealing with, we might do some band work that targets that, or maybe, shin splints, doing some tibialis anterior raises, just different things like that. Or if they have like lack of mobility in their ankle, working on that sort of stuff. So we wrap up with some auxiliary stuff with their lifting. So, and probably the biggest progression with lifting obviously is we have variability throughout the year. And we're constantly increasing weight, via different like progressions. And then just the other thing is, as we get closer to track season and we have athletes that are running the 800, the 1500, that sort of stuff, we get a little bit more explosive. So we're maybe doing deadlifts followed by hurdle hops, or maybe even just doing like actual like rocket jumps with a hex bar, that sort of stuff. So we do get more explosive as the season goes on.
So with some of those heavier lifts, I know you said that a lot of the kids, they're a little bit more educated than they were when you first started coaching. Do you have to fight people with that? Do you have to fight some of the distance runners to get them to do those heavy squats and those heavy presses and the deadlifts, or more people bought in at this point in time?
Well, our upperclassmen are really bought in. So the freshmen just aren't going to argue, to be honest. So they see everyone doing it and they see how fast they're running, and it's like, well, why would I question it? I get a little fight sometimes in the sense of they don't know. It's a different kind of hurt. Lifting heavy is a different hurt. It's a different feeling than the slow kind of burn that you get from running. So that's probably the biggest thing, is actually getting them to learn how to lift heavy, and learn that it can be really hard and that's okay. And they're just not used to that kind of pain. It's different. It's a different way to push your body. So that's really the big battle I run into, is them not realizing how much they can lift, like I've had athletes that are like scared to squat the bar, because they've never, not that they can't do it. They just, they're scared to put more than just the bar on there, because it hurts in a different way that they're not comfortable with. So a lot of times it's just them learning that hurt and learning how to lift heavy. And then they get to a point though, by the time they're, juniors and seniors, I have to like pull them off and say, hey, like we're overdoing it, like there's an in between, because they get so comfortable with it. And a lot of them, like I might cut a lift in a week because for whatever reason, maybe we have a meet on a Thursday, Friday, and they're like, hey, when can I get my lift in? They're like begging for it, because they've gotten so accustomed to it. So, yeah.
Coach, how's track season going?
It's good. Yeah, very, very good. We're happy with where we're at. I mean, we're actually hosting our conference championship meet on Thursday and Friday of this week. So at home, which will be cool. It's first time in 11 years we've had conference championship. Last time we were up for conference, we didn't have a track facility. So so it's nice. We actually have a facility now and we're excited to host. So been busy, very, very busy for sure. So
Do you like being a meet director?
No, I'd rather just coach, just like everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a catch 22, you really want to host it and give the athletes their conference championships at their home facility and showcase the new facility and all that. But then at the end of the day, you're in charge of all that. You got to be a meet director, and then that also can sometimes take away from actual being the coach.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to run home. I mean, the team's so excited, and they're going to be able to have their friends that, I mean, college kids' friends, they're not driving across the country to go watch a kid, compete. So it's like they're going to be able to have friends watch them run, and our administrators are going to be able to be there, and, faculty members and stuff like that have never really seen our kids compete. A lot of them haven't. So it's really cool to get them to be a part of that. And, so it's worth it. I don't love being a meet director, but it's worth it for that experience, because they see our kids practice and they see all that, but they don't get to see the end result a lot of times. It's not like basketball where there's clips on Twitter and Instagram and football and stuff like that are a little bit easier to share, a little bit easier for people to understand. So it's cool for them to get to see kind of what our athletes actually do.
Who's going to be the key competition team wise?
So on the men, Friends University, which is actually where I went to
Your
school.
alma mater, yeah.
Yeah. So they're kind of our main, I would say our main competition from a track perspective. Kansas Wesleyan, they're also a pretty good little program as well. And then on the women, I think it'll probably be a toss up between Ottawa University and Evangel, as kind of our main competition. So Evangel, I think they were second indoor track, and Ottawa, I think, was maybe third, but they've added a few pieces for outdoor track, so they're looking pretty competitive right now as well. So
how's the weather looking?
not great. So add to my meet director responsibilities. Thursday's looking like that's day one. It's looking like thunderstorms and lightning, rain, the whole deal. So we'll see. So it's not going to be fun to try to do this meet in one day if that's what we have to do. And we can't move it Friday, Saturday, because we have graduation on campus Saturday. So that's not happening. So we're going to have to figure that out. So yeah, I got a text last night. Hey, what are you guys thinking about with the weather? And I was like, there's bad weather. Didn't realize that. So I'd looked a few days ago and it was fine. It looked nice. And then now the storm we have a storm coming tomorrow and the next day that it's looking to push into Thursday a little bit. So we'll see.
Well, hopefully the track and field gods will smile on y'all and you'll have bluebird skies and perfect weather, perfect temperature.
For sure.
Coach, is there anything on the university and the team that we haven't touched on that you would like the listeners to know about?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, probably one thing I'll say is, as the head of the program, I get a lot of credit for the success we've had and the things that we've done. But my coaching staff is unbelievable. I am really lucky. I know I've talked about it a little bit. I've been a very, very lucky person to get great people, great coaches on our staff. And Coach Nolan Ryan, he's kind of my right-hand man, assistant coach. He came here, I think he's been here 7 years, and obviously came here just as an employee, and he's one of my best friends now, and he keeps me motivated and keeps our program going. And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout him out, because he's such a huge part of what we do. And obviously all of our coaches are Coach Biedron and Coach Merkley and Coach Tima and Lyons and Noel and Whitaker. Like all of them have their own impacts, in our program, and have just made such a make my life better. Really, not like they make my life easier, but they make my life better, getting to be a part of it. So I definitely just want to make sure they know how much I appreciate them,
Anything else, Rich? Are you ready for the Final Four?
Let's do the Final Four.
All right, Coach. First question I have for you. Are you a coffee drinker?
Absolutely. Black coffee.
All right. So you told me how you take it. How do you brew it?
French press.
All right.
So sometimes if I'm lazy, I make an Americano. Got an espresso machine. It's a little quicker, a little easier than the French press. So
Do you have a roast of choice, white, medium, or dark?
So mix it up. There's a local roastery that we use that my wife and I get coffee from. So we get it shipped to the house. This is how serious we are. We get a fresh bag of coffee shipped to the house every week. So we're pretty serious about our coffee in our household.
I like hearing that.
Yeah. Makes my heart happy. Are you you a multiple cup a day kind of guy or one and done?
So used to drink multiple cups. I've leaned more towards one really good cup of coffee a day, and I try to stick with that. Um, I've gotten somewhat caffeine sensitive as I've gotten older. I don't know what that change is. So if I drink another cup, I usually feel it later at night, and I like my sleep and I prioritize my sleep. So usually one really good cup of coffee a day.
Okay. All right. Hey, Coach, since you take your coffee seriously, we'll give you a little recommendation here to try out. There's a company called Third Wave Water, and is a former guest of ours, the owner, CEO, founder Charles Nick. And what that is it's there's a specific mineral profile that a lot of coffee roasters or coffee shops will use. It's a certified Barista World Federation or something. It has a specific mineral profile. Charles was a NASA scientist and he could never figure out why his coffee at home never came out like when he got it at the coffee shop. Talked to the roaster, talked to the coffee shop owner, and he found out about this mineral profile. And then what he did was he took that water profile, dehydrated it, took the minerals out of it. So now what you do is you get the third wave water sachet, put it in a gallon of distilled water, and then that gives you that specific mineral profile for brewing coffee, and then that's what you use for your brewing. So check it out if you want. It's a little
Yeah,
pro tip. It sounds like you take your coffee pretty seriously. It might help you step up your game a little bit. Not that you need it.
for sure.
Coach, do you have any daily practices or rituals that you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Austin Benton?
Well, the big one is I exercise. Exercise is a lot of things for me. It's time to myself, time to think, time to meditate. Um, that's probably the number one daily routine I do. That is a huge part. I feel like if my mind can be as sharp as it wants to be, but if the thing that carries my mind isn't, then I can't get the most out of it. So I meditate or not meditate, sorry, I exercise every day. I'm a little hamstrung right now. I told you guys I had surgery a few weeks back. I messed my ankle up. So it's been killing me to not really be able to get out, because I like to be outside and be in nature. That's part of why I love running. So that is a huge part of every day. I actually, prior to my son being born, I don't think I missed a run for a little over 7 years. I did miss a day of running. So I don't know the exact number now. But when my son was born, I did miss that day. um, and so that's how important that is to me. And then probably the other thing is I sit down and I read every night. I put my phone away at the end of the day and I read something. Um, so I'm constantly reading, and sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. I don't have a set amount of time that I do it, but I read every day. That's something that's really important to me and something that has helped me grow a lot. Um, whether it's reading business books or reading running books or just reading a story that touches the heart a little bit. I try to read every day, so I'm consistent with that as well.
Coach, what are you listening to? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? What are you reading?
So what am I listening to or what am I reading usually? Sorry.
Well,
All the above.
yeah, all
All
the
of the
above.
above. Okay. Um, so I'm actually bad with I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Um, I listened to some. I don't think I've ever really caught on to one that I'm like, I can't miss this every week. Um, not that, it's good or bad. I mean, I guess for whatever reason, for like 2 years, I listened to Revisionist History with Malcolm Gladwell every time I mowed the lawn. It was just like a simple, like easy podcast. But I'm not listening to any particular podcasts right now. I mean, I've listened to a lot of your like Huberman Lab and I've listened to different stuff, like different episodes, but nothing like regularly. Just usually I catch episodes that I think are interesting from all kinds of different things. But um And then, reading wise, I'm actually reading Outlive by, I think, Peter A. Shea
Guarantee.
or something like that. Yeah. So I don't know, I'm like 100 pages into that, but and then I don't know. It's kind of really whatever inspires me, I guess. I kind of just it's pretty random, I would say. I think my mind goes a lot of different directions sometimes. And it's also like sometimes I'm really motivated to read, physiology books. And sometimes I just, want to read something like geeky, like Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Do you listen to music when you run at all?
I don't listen to music when I run. I like to just, I don't know, I like to think. But I do, I mean, I love music actually. It's like pretty much always have music on all the time, when I'm doing anything else. So I think it drives my wife nuts because I come home and I turn music on, and I think she might just want some silence, but, so I am constantly listening to music. I listen to all kinds of stuff, different stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I ever, people ask like, oh, do you have a favorite artist? I don't know if I have a favorite artist, but I listen to a little bit of everything. Foo Fighters, I listen to Chris Stapleton country. I listen to a lot of alternative type music. So yeah, so a little bit of everything.
All right. All right. Coach, last one we have for you. Do you have a guilty pleasure or guilty pleasures? It could be food. Perhaps there's a great brewery in Kansas City that you enjoy, an IPA or something. You mentioned a little bit of love of music. Maybe you're a Swiftie.
I'm not a Swiftie. My wife is a little bit, but um, oh man, guilty pleasure. Chips. I love chips. I know it's like it's a one heck of an answer. I can't keep a bag of chips in the house because I will eat every last chip. I love like savory foods. So I don't know. Chips was probably my like. I only buy them for like special occasions because I have a problem whenever it comes to chips. But probably outside of that, I really enjoy barbecue. That would probably be my like true like indulgence kind of thing would be barbecue. Um, Whether it's, I mean, I am in Kansas City. It's the capital of barbecue in the US, as much as other cities want to disagree. So, I like going to barbecue places and doing that. That's probably, I guess that's probably a better answer than chips. But chips is probably low key, a little sneaky. I get myself in trouble with a bag of chips.
And so, two follow-ups there. What's your go-to barbecue order? And are we talking like potato chips, corn chips, or just chips in general?
Uh, Salt and vinegar chips is
Okay. All right.
probably my, if I had to pick one chip, would be salt and vinegar.
Okay.
You have a brand
Um
of choice?
ooh, I don't know if I have a brand. Just kettle chips to be specific, not like any. I want like the nice crunch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't really know if I have a brand. Just whatever's good, I guess.
Okay.
Um, and then barbecue. Uh, Burnt ends would probably be my go-to. Um, if I'm gonna go somewhere in Kansas City, I won't get burnt ends anywhere else. I've done it before and I've just been disappointed.
Yeah.
It's not the same. So, but yeah, burnt ends is definitely probably my main. Like if I get, I would, and not, I don't need a sandwich. I don't need anything. I just need the burnt ends on the plate with a big pile of French fries. And that's really just about perfect for me. Um, for sure.
All right. Right on. Let's go.
Rich, you want to tell Coach our Kansas City barbecue
Well, no, it wasn't.
story?
We were in. So, Coach, we were driving cross country. Jimmy and I were, and we stopped in Lawrence. And we grew up. Our father was a runner, so we always were taught about Jim Ryan and Billy Mills and the great legends of the University of Kansas. So it was like we have to go pay homage. And we went. When we stopped at there was a barbecue place there, and we actually got the burnt ends at the restaurant. And the gentleman that was running the restaurant. He said, "Next time you come here," he said, "you get the ribs." It's like, "Next time you come here, you get the ribs." And I'm a brisket guy, burn ends and that sort of stuff. So I don't really like ribs, but yeah, the short end of the long story was that the burnt ends weren't all that much to write home about. So he was probably right about getting the ribs.
For sure. Yeah, I always find it best if you haven't been to a restaurant, just ask the workers. Like
Mhm.
they're gonna probably direct you because not every barbecue place has good burnt ends, and not every
Yeah.
barbecue place has good ribs, or not every, they kind of have one thing that they tend to be really good at. And sometimes it's only that one thing, and the rest of the barbecue is just kind of okay. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a philosophy I've taken on since I've been moving around and traveling the last 12 or 13 years, and that's kind of the philosophy I take. Whoever's waiting on us, I always ask them what they recommend, and I'll usually just say, "All right, I'll go with that." And most of the time, you're right. It's usually a home run.
For sure.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you for taking time out of your evening to talk to Area
Yeah.
Bros and share about the University of St. Mary's with our audience. Good luck the rest of your track season, and thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Good luck on Thursday and Friday, and we'll put a little good energy coming from the south for some good weather for you.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.